Welcome to Strong, Not Wrong, a podcast for everyone. Everyone who has ever made themselves wrong, been made wrong, or is a little lost in the sea of judgment for being different. What if what you've decided is your wrongness is actually your strongness? Your hosts, Mary, Catherine, and Annalise, will bring together our varied backgrounds and discuss what lies beneath the many gifts and challenges that are so often labeled as a problem.
Welcome, everyone, to this week's edition of our podcast, Strong Not Wrong. Today, I think we're going to chat about a topic that is also one of my favorites. It's not about being right or wrong. What if it's actually about being aware of what you know? What do you know? We always make ourselves right or wrong. We have to be in an either or world, right? Like right or wrong. But what if it's not about that? So we're chatting about that today.
That is a big topic, right or wrong. How many of us were raised on right or wrong? Like you're getting it right or you're getting it wrong. And there's like no in between. And when you decide that something's right or something that is wrong, there's always a conclusion. So what if we didn't function from conclusions? What if instead of having conclusions, we were willing to ask a few questions? Like Annalise said, what are you aware of? What are we aware of that we're not acknowledging? What is that? There's something there. There's a capacity there. And sometimes we might call it like, oh, we have this spidey sense. I just had this spidey sense. Or, I don't know, I just had this, like my intuition.
Or I just had a gut feeling.
The gut feeling. I like that one. Like, what is that? What is that? If we didn't make that like a wrongness, that, oh, I'm always having this feeling, I'm always defaulting to this. And instead we were willing to be aware that we're aware of something. How much easier could it be for us?
Yeah, and it's not even necessarily what you think you're aware of either. It's what's true for you. And if you're thinking about all the conclusions that you can draw on it and making it right and wrong and everything that comes into our world as yes or no question, it closes the door to actually fully understanding and just opening things up for you and discovering, right?
This really brings to mind, oh gosh, probably like 8 or 9 years ago, I was working as an agronomist. That was my day job. I was an agronomist at the local co-op, and my eyes started twitching like when I was at work. And I could actually see it in the bathroom mirror at work. My eye was twitching. And I remember thinking, like, what is wrong with me? Does this mean that I'm stressed out? You know, when I was trying to figure out what was wrong, that my eye would be doing this. And this is early in the days for me of learning about consciousness and asking questions. And I remember I was working with a coach, and she started asking me questions because it was really annoying me. And I brought it up in one of our calls, and she started asking me questions about what this eye twitch was. And it's like there was this pop of energy, like it just really resonated when she asked me if this was my body's awareness about spirits. Like if there was ghosts around me or disembodied entities. And it was just like the first thing that popped into my head was yes. And I'm like, yeah, I guess that's what it is. And that was literally my first time really diving into what I'm aware of and what my body is aware of.
Yeah, and you could have just shut it down right away. Like, no, this isn't possible or whatever. But sometimes it's that initial, like, when you ask yourself a question, the initial thing that pops into your mind is kind of, a good way that I've started to kind of tap into my knowing and just going with it more. Like, even, we don't even have to make it complicated. Like, even what to wear during the day. Like, what do I want? What earrings do I want to wear? Like I ask a question about everything, so simple or even some of the big things too. Like, hey, why do I have a headache right now? Like I can ask some questions like, what is this? What am I not acknowledging right now about my body or about life? Or is this even mine? Kind of what we talked about, I think, last week, right? Or last episode, sorry. But yeah,
What Annalise said about it popping, like it's so fast that we don't notice it when we're aware. It's like, yes, that now. And you just have this, we keep calling it unknowing, that there's something there. And we might not even have words for what that something is. So Catherine had like a knowing of some connection to a spirit or entity or whatever that was. She didn't have to have a name for it.
Yes, that's correct. And that's the other piece I was going to add in there was my eye stopped twitching. So that was also my body's way. I feel like that was my body's way of telling me, yes, you got the message. This is what I'm telling you. Now, it doesn't go away. Like my eye will still twitch, but instead of then I just know to ask a question like, oh, is there some spirits around me? And then I'll ask questions. Maybe it's my grandma or my grandpa that passed. Maybe they want my attention. And I just say hi to them. And then if my eye keeps twitching, I just know that my body is like, okay, no, there's something else. Or, keep asking a question. And then I'll just ask, like, what is this? Is a really great question that opens up for possibilities. In the beginning of my question asking, it was hard for me because I wanted to find the answer. Like I wanted to find the right answer or the wrong answer instead of going with the answer of awareness or intuition or gut. So I don't know, Mary or Annalise, can you guys speak to that at all? Like how did you go beyond the right and wrong answer into what you know?
That's a huge step. Yeah, it's a willingness to start by just noticing it, noticing how we're trying to get it right or wrong. We've been raised to get things right or wrong. You get the right answer or the wrong answer in a math question, for example. We don't look at the process, maybe that's going on there. So we're raised on this right or wrong and having to have it the correct format, the correct way of phrasing things, the correct way of looking at things. And, in this case of Catherine's body, her body was talking to her. No right or wrong there.
yeah, exactly. And listening to other people. So you listen to your teachers, you listen to your boss, and they tell you what to do, and you just do it. And when we live on, I don't know, just now that I've stopped living on that autopilot of what, society is, and not intentionally trying to, it's just a way of being and just being a little bit different with that and not just trusting what somebody says to me and actually asking myself, what do I know here? Like simple questions. It's not like I've asked the most complicated formulas. It's just simple questions like, what is this? What do I know? What am I aware of? And I think it's just built the muscle. And I've been doing these questions for a few years, just like you guys. But building it up and now it comes quicker. And now there's just less stress because I want to get it right, or a lot less because I've tried so hard to even get that right. Like,
Get the right.
right? Right.
Right, correct. And this is like touching on like last week when we were talking about capacities. So we have capacities for awareness, and we can make that wrong. We can drive us crazy. We can want to hide under our duvets and not look at what it is and what we're capable of. Or we can look at it and go, wow, my eye is twitching. What is that? What am I aware of here? I have a headache. What is that? What am I aware of here? Am I aware of someone else's body and my body's letting me know that someone else's body is not okay?
And feeling somebody else's anxiety. And, my go-to is anxiety and anger. That's my default, right? And I have to ask a lot of questions around that because it's just my body trying to communicate or something trying to communicate with me. And I just have to ask some questions and not make it wrong.
Yeah, that is the biggest thing, not making it wrong. If you are feeling angry and frustrated, asking the question, what is this? And maybe it's something that's not working for you. Like that's something that I've learned about myself along the way is if I'm feeling frustrated, I often don't have enough information or all of the information, or I'm aware of something that I don't know yet. Like it's like this leads into a whole other conversation. We can have this awareness of the future. So if something isn't quite working right now in the present moment, and I'm feeling frustrated because it's not coming together, and then all of a sudden in a few days, I will get the missing piece and I'm like, oh, that's what I was missing. And it just wasn't the time yet for whatever that was. Yeah, like it wasn't the time yet. And so this whole awareness thing, like what we are aware of is so beyond the mind and what meets the eye and what makes sense. But the more that you ask yourself these questions, you're going to start to just notice things and you're going to start to get feedback about what shows up in your life, what the felt sense is in your body. How is it feeling to you in your body? If it feels good, if it's kind of feels exciting, if it makes you smile, then that is the energy that is showing you what your choice is going to create. If it feels hard, if it feels like it makes you kind of, well, if it makes
Nauseous, yucky,
you nauseous, yeah.
heavy.
For me, it's like a smile or a frown. Like if I frown when I'm doing something, I'm like, oh, okay, this isn't working. That's the energy. That's my body showing me the energy.
A lot of times I fear too, or there's distractions. Like, sometimes I feel like it's heavy, but it's actually just fear. And so then I can ask some questions around that. And I mean, that's totally getting deeper than that. But I love your explanation of what it feels like inside of your body. Because if you just start with that, if you just do one thing after today's episode podcast, is start with that. And just when you're making the choices, just kind of tap in or just perceive or think about that, what it feels like, then that's a totally great way to start because that is that being in the question. So there's asking question and being in the question. And that is what you're going to do to start being aware and knowing what you know, not what other people know, what you know, right?
One of the most safest, simplest ways to practice it is just like Mary had mentioned before, your body, like asking your body what it wants to wear, and then like scanning through your closet and seeing if like the energy pops on a clothing item, or sometimes you'll get an image of what your body would like to wear. And what your body would like to eat, like at a restaurant. Like instead of just defaulting to the same old maybe that you always get, like actually asking your body and then noticing what pops in the menu, or like closing your eyes and running your finger down and saying, okay, body, we're going to stop at what you want, stopping your finger when the energy says stop, and then opening your eyes and then trusting and like ordering that, even if it's something you think you wouldn't like that's how you can start building the trust of your awareness, of your intuition, of your spidey senses of what you know. Do you ladies have any other tips?
No, that's great. That's having fun. Like having fun with it. Like it doesn't have to be serious.
It has to be serious. This is very serious conversation.
You're right.
And you better get it right.
You better get it right. Good. Perfect. Correct. Otherwise
Otherwise, you're wrong.
you're going to be wrong. Right.
Or you can be strong.
Strong, not wrong. And what would it take for us to start to look at what we're aware of? How it's showing up for us, that awareness? Is it showing up in our bodies? Is it showing up through feelings, through sensations? What is knowing for you? And just start to play with that and see where that leads you.
Well, thank you everybody for joining us. And if you have any questions, you'll find a way to contact us. And until next time.
Thank you for listening to Strong Not Wrong. We hope you enjoyed this podcast. Make sure to subscribe and, of course, share with anyone you think may benefit. See you next episode.